Hey everyone, I'm Ray Carsillo, and welcome to another episode of From My Man Cave, a weekly look back at the world of sports from my sometimes unique perspective. Now, of course, as everybody knows, it's been a big week last week. The Seahawks and Broncos will meet in Super Bowl 48. That's right, both Super Bowl participants were decided last week, and again, I went 500. I predicted Seahawks Patriots, and, well, at least I've been consistent in the NFC. In the NFC, I definitely... It's been a long time. Well, not a long time. In the past 20 years, we've had 1 year where both number one seeds made the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it was kind of unprecedented, which is why I kept picking against the favorites, especially in the AFC. I legitimately thought somebody would have knocked Denver off. But, you know what? Statistics, they only say so much, right? That's why they play the game. So, 2 number one seeds, only the second time in 20 years. The other time was in 2009, where 2 number one seeds are in the big game. The Seahawks got there 23-17 over the Niners. Of course, a lot of controversy at the very end of that game. Richard Sherman's now infamous press conference with Erin Andrews. And I don't care what anybody says. I think Richard Sherman, I think it's fine. I think he's a good guy, and I think he's defended himself well. And now that audio has emerged earlier this week about Sherman was actually mic'd up for that game. And he did, at the end of the game, go up to Crabtree, slap him on the butt, and say, hey, great game, great season. He congratulated him, and Crabtree responded with a punch to the face. So I can kind of understand why Sherman would be as pumped up and as angry and as mad as he was. So, I mean, I kind of feel for the guy, especially if you've heard all the interviews he's done on ESPN and the media week, of course, with the Super Bowl coming up, like back in New York, New Jersey. He's a really smart guy. I really think he just got caught up in the moment. I think that for everybody who's villainizing him, this is the wrong guy to villainize. If anything, you should take a look at Crabtree for being a baby, for smacking the guy in the face after showing some good sportsmanship. Really? I mean that kind of defines, Jim Harbaugh and his 49ers. I mean, if you look at the 49ers, they are a team of big babies. Like, literally. Except for Navarro Bowman. But even that whole incident with the food being thrown on him, it was like 3 kernels of popcorn, and it looked like, if you look at the certain camera angles, that the guy probably just spilled his popcorn. I don't think anybody actually threw anything at Navarro Bowman, who, of course, I believe tore several ligaments in his leg. Probably lucky it wasn't worse, but will probably miss most of the next season because of it. Gruesome injury if you saw how his leg got rolled up on, but... Honestly, I think it needs to be, buried, and I think you need to focus on the game now. And but I think people need to get off Richard Sherman's back. I don't think he did anything wrong. If anything, you should look to the 49ers, who are a bunch of babies. And speaking of babies, it's actually kind of funny how Brandon Jacobs for the Giants, my Giants, basically called Jim Harbaugh a female dog, if you will. And because he's a whiny female dog, he's never going to win anything. So I thought that was pretty funny. So, again, coach, the team is defined by their coach, and so there are a bunch of big babies over in San Francisco. Congratulations to Seattle. On the other side, Denver knocked off New England, which was interesting because it was a close game at first, but then a play happened that a lot of people, and Bill Belichick, who says nothing ever, was up in arms about, which was the hit on Aqib Talib by Wes Welker. If you look at this play, folks, definitely Google it. It was a cheap shot by Welker. I mean, it's a pick play. It happens a lot in the NFL. And actually, it's usually an offensive pass interference penalty that's called. Nothing was called in this play, but it should have been. And Aqib Talib was hurt. And after that, Peyton Manning was able to open everything up because the number one coverage corner for the Patriots, who had been shutting down Demaryius Thomas, suddenly Thomas was wide open now. So, but you know what? Denver took advantage. That's what good teams do. You beat teams that are banged up and are bad, and New England's been banged up for quite a while, and except for, now it's starting to catch up to them on the defensive side of the ball, and that's all you can say. So now, new school offense versus old school defense. That's what you've got, folks, in the Super Bowl, and I've been playing it the whole way with the Seahawks. I'm going to stick with the Seahawks. I think that their defense, unless Wes Welker knocks out Richard Sherman or somebody else in the secondary, I think that they're going to give Peyton fits all day. And I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. And if it stays to, if Denver doesn't score, more than 24 points, I think Seattle's going to win this game. I honestly think that. I think that Russell Wilson, he played a better game this week, not as bad as the game against New Orleans. I think going to a neutral field, I think I think being outdoors in the inclement weather of New York, New Jersey, I think will benefit more the Seahawks than it does the Broncos, who have been playing in unseasonably warm weather in Denver the past 2 weeks. So I go Seattle with winning Super Bowl 48. That's my official pick. It's going to be interesting next week because obviously there's 2 weeks between the championship games, the conference championship games, and the Super Bowl. So I guess next week we'll talk about the Pro Bowl. Yeah, right. Nobody talks about the Pro Bowl. Who cares about the Pro Bowl? Oh my God, what a joke! Hey, you might have heard. Actually, this is what there was a draft this year where they had Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice as captains of the 2 teams of the Pro Bowl. They're trying to do it up, kind of doing how hockey's done for the past few years at the All-Star Game, and the players were so enthusiastic, as you can see by this picture here, playing rock paper scissors. It was just like the game itself. It is a poor excuse for an all-star celebratory event. I mean, it's great for the players because they get a free trip to Hawaii, but quite honestly, as fans, nobody cares about the Pro Bowl. And I don't think anybody's going to watch the Pro Bowl next year. It means nothing. It's pointless. And I don't care Deion Sanders, Jerry Rice, unless they lace up themselves, I could really care less about that game. So next week, we actually will talk about, there's a lot going on. Speaking of hockey, the Stadium Series is going on this week. So you got outdoor games in Chicago, LA, and New York, Rangers and Islanders, and Rangers and Devils. And actually, what's very cool is backup goalie for the New York Rangers, Cam Talbot, put together this amazing mask, had it designed for him, where it honors a little bit about Yankee Stadium. So you got some baseball in there, but also the Ghostbusters. And as a geek, as everybody knows, I work for Electronic Geek Monthly. I'm like a professional geek. I couldn't resist but showing you this graphic. I think it's one of the best hockey masks I've ever seen, and honestly, I need to look to see if I can purchase one myself. I like to add it to the collection. But yeah, so that's really cool, and it should be fun to see how the outdoor games. I know Rangers and Devils play on Sunday, so and I know Kings and Ducks play Saturday night. So I'll be watching those games for sure. I might talk a little bit about hockey. So we'll definitely have a show next week. So it won't be as football related. Before we go, though, I want to just take this time to also congratulate, we mentioned Brandon Jacobs before, who just retired as a Giant. Another great Giant who just announced his retirement today, actually, as we're taping this. David Diehl, offensive lineman. He can't really say his position because he's one of the few players. He's called Mr. Versatility. He played 4 of the 5 offensive line positions, left guard, left tackle, right tackle. Had at least 25 starts in his career at each position, 160 career starts, 164 career games. Of course, 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, 2009 Pro Bowl selection. Actually, I had a chance to meet David after the Super Bowl 42 win in New York City. I had a chance to meet him and talk to him, and that was a highlight of my early ESPN career. Nicest guy. I had the big Amish beard going. Then is when I was like, I'm in radio. Who cares how I look? Yeah, so I just let the beard go, and it was kind of got nasty after a while. Obviously, I've shaved it since then. But yeah, so I mean, it's sad to hear him go. For the Giants fans out there, of course, he'll be honored. I mean, you win 2 Super Bowls with a team. Anybody from that team is going to be special. Probably not a Hall of Famer. Going to say it right now. Maybe the Veterans Committee years, decades down the line. But when you put him against contemporaries like Willie Roaf, Larry Allen, Bruce Matthews, Randall McDaniel, or Gary Zimmerman, guys who just got into the Hall of Fame and played like the beginning of David Diehl's career. Except for Zimmerman, all those guys had way more starts and games played than Diehl. And the biggest thing about all of them, even though Diehl had 2 Super Bowls, which none of those guys had, some of those guys didn't have any. Larry Allen had 1. Gary Zimmerman had 1. But aside from that, he won, which is good for Diehl. But I don't think it's enough to get him into the Hall of Fame because you look at these other guys' numbers. They have 7, 8, 9 Pro Bowl selections. Diehl had 1. Wasn't really considered a dominant force on the offensive line, even though he was consistent. I think if he played another 2 to 3 years, he'd be in the conversation. But as is, 11-year career, 2 Super Bowl wins. Tip your hat to him. He was a great guy. He's a great man. Like I said, I've spoken to him personally. He's very, very nice. So we, of course, want to congratulate David Diehl on a great career and for hanging him up. He will be missed. But, so, wow, the show went by fast this week. Lots of stuff to talk about. So we'll have another show again next week. Of course, like I said, probably a lot less football talk. But until then, have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week.